Hi, my name is Venkanna, Associate Professor in Engineering College. Today, I want to discuss about the topic transistors. Transistors. So here, transistor means transfer resistor. That is, if it is a transistor, this is input port and this is output port. At the input port, the resistance is very less, and at the output port, the resistance is high. That is, the resistance from input to the output gradually increases. Gradually increases. So that's why uh, this is known as transfer resistor. So it is called as transistor. Basically, transistors are two types: NPN transistor and PNP transistor. NPN transistor, that is N type material, P type material, N type material. And N type material means N type semiconductor, P type semiconductor. This is N type semiconductor. In between N type semiconductors, P type semiconductor is placed. Then this is known as NPN transistor. So here two diodes, NP diode and PN diode. Two diodes are opposite connection to each other. Then that is nothing but NPN transistor. And similarly, PNP transistor. PNP transistor means P type semiconductor and N type semiconductor, P type semiconductor. That is, in between two P type semiconductors, N type semiconductor is placed. That is nothing but PNP transistor. So the symbol for NPN transistor is looking like this. So it is a base, and it is collector, and it is emitter. So the arrow mark indicates the direction of current flow when the emitter base junction is in forward bias direction. This indicates the arrow mark indicates the flow of current direction, direction of current flow when the emitter base junction is forward biased. So this is for NPN transistor, the arrow mark is outward, and symbol for PNP transistor, this is base, this is collector, arrow mark is inward for emitter. So this is the symbol of NPN transistor, this is the symbol of PNP transistor. So here, if you take PNP transistor, so here which consists of transistor, basically which consists of three terminals, that is emitter, and second one is base, and third one is collector. So this is base, emitter terminal, and now we are discussing PNP transistor. In between emitter and base, one junction is there, that is nothing but emitter junction, and in between collector and base, one junction is there, that is nothing but collector junction. So transistor, which consists of three terminals, emitter, base, collector, and two junctions, emitter junction and collector junction. The current flow through the emitter is known as IE, that is indicated with IE, collector current. Base the current flowing through the base terminal, that is nothing but IB, that is IB indicated with IB, and the current flowing through the collector is known as IC, that is indicated with IC. So why it is known as emitter? Why it is known as collector? So here basically emitter emits carriers, emits carriers. So that's why this is known as emitter. And here collector, which collect the carriers from the input. Here input is emitter, output is collector. Emitter is input and collector is output. So collecting the carriers from the input. That's why this terminal is known as collector. This terminal is known as collector. So if you see the operation of, for example, operation of PNP transistor, here P-type semiconductor, this is N-type semiconductor, this is P-type semiconductor. In the P-type semiconductor, the majority carriers are holes and minority carriers electrons. Similarly, in the N-type semiconductor, majority carriers are electrons and minority carriers holes. Similarly, in the P-type semiconductor, majority carriers holes, minority carriers electrons. So here, when P-type material and N-type material, these two are attached to each other, immediately one junction is established between these two semiconductors, that is nothing but emitter junction. And here majority carriers from P-type semiconductor flowing into the N-type semiconductor. Similarly, in the N-type semiconductor, majority carriers are flowing into the P-type semiconductor. When majority carriers holes flowing into the N-type semiconductor, what will happen? The recombination occur. So due to the recombination, the majority carriers electrons disappear in the N-type semiconductor. That is nothing but base current. And the doping concentration for the emitter is heavily doped, and this is the doping concentration for collector is moderately doped, and the doping concentration for base is lightly doped. And when compare with these two, the width of the base is very small. When you compare with emitter and collector, the width of base is very small. So 5%. Here when 100% of carriers are traveling from emitter into the base, 5% of the approximately 5% of the carriers are disappear due to the recombination, and remaining 95% of the carriers are collected by the collector. So this is the basic operation. This is the basic operation of PNP transistor. Once again, I want to explain the operation. Majority carriers from the P-type material flowing into the N-type material. At the junction, holes are jumped into the N-type material. Here, holes are recombined with electrons in the N-type material. So, due to the recombination, that electrons are disappear. So, that is nothing but IB and base current, and remaining carriers after recombination. Why? Because here only lightly doped means the availability of free carriers are very less. So less carriers are disappear with the recombination. Then what will happen? Here the majority in the base, the majority carriers filled with holes. The area of the base filled with holes. Then these holes are collected by the collector. So here 95% of the carriers are flowing into the collector. Approximately 5% of the carriers are disappear. That is nothing but that is indicated with the IB, that is base current, and the collector current is indicated with the IC, This is the basic operation. This is the basic operation of PNP transistor. So NPN transistor operation is also same, but here for the NPN transistor, the majority carriers are n type material. The majority carriers are flowing from emitter to the collector is electrons, but in PNP transistor, the carriers flowing from emitter to the collector is holes. That is the difference. That is the difference between PNP transistor and NPN transistor.